Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a slightly different episode of Coaching with Planet with your host, Planet. Hello, that's me. Where instead of coaching the very fun Battle Royale game project, the very fun game Totally Accurate Battlegrounds, today we're going to be coaching the game Project Remix. Now, this game I've actually done videos about in the past. Namely, I do videos where I analyze the competitive scenes. So I take games between two of the professional teams, I analyze them, I see how they play, what strategies they use, where they could have improved and everything. And it's quite fun. I enjoy doing it. The teams have commented that they like them and everything. But this time I'm doing something slightly different because this is the perspective of one specific player. So this is going to be a lot. This video, I'm just letting you know ahead of time, is going to be a lot more about how they play, the decisions they make, and mostly about their performance. I could obviously comment. I will comment if I see like their support walk into 3 enemies. I'm gonna call out the support on that. But aside from that, I'm going to mostly be talking about this person's performance, and who we have here today is Aria, who I believe we have seen several times in the past, usually playing DPS. They are known for playing shotgun, slingshot, generally quick and nimble DPS players, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they play. So, I don't know what, I think they are, I don't know what team they are on, but they're dropping in here. So, already, first off, hold on. Can we see their loadout? Because if we could, it would be really helpful. Okay, so their loadout is they're running default shotgun with the charge, or like the forward charging M2. They have sprint and hop. They also have drifter, and then their remix is Stravance. I don't know if they are going to use Stravance because you are limited in the ultimate usage that you have in competitive games, but overall this is a solid loadout. Now, it is missing a bit of survivability. Namely, you have, obviously they have a lot of movement. They have the shotgun's M2. They have the sprint, which is good for just a quick movement, but also for getting a lot of distance, especially if the shotgun's secondary fires off cooldown, or if you just need to get out of somewhere very quickly. And then hop, I'm guessing, is just for general in-fight combat to make it really hard to hit you, because shockingly enough, a double jump makes it really hard for people to hit you. And then Stravance is just a good remix. Drifter, very good perk here. It's already good because it triggers on the shotgun secondary thing and on hop, I believe, but it also triggers with sprint, and sprint has a bit of a unique interaction because sprint is meter based instead of being on a cooldown, so you can just very quickly tap sprint and it uses up almost no meter, but it refreshes the 25% movement speed boost that drift gives you. So there's a bit of pretty cool tech there. You can also do consecutive jump. There's like strategies to do consecutive jumps and stuff like that to maximize the amount of value you get from it. So overall, very solid loadout. Yet again, as I was saying, you don't really have much survivability in here. There's no defensive abilities. There's no healing abilities and everything. I presume this is for one of two reasons. One, they have a very dedicated support player, which if they do, that's fantastic, because what it means is that they can sacrifice a bit of survivability in their loadout because they know that they'll have their support who's going to be keeping an eye out on them and healing them during the match, or it's because they're playing as like more of a flanker, and I presume this is what they have planned. And since they're flanker, they do take damage, but they don't take as much damage as if they were just standing in the front and everything, so they can rely on things like health packs, natural health regeneration, health and regeneration from kills and stuff like that to help them. But we'll see how this plays out. I presume it looks like there's about 4 to 5 games here. So we're landing in here. This is pretty good. And yeah, as you can see right here, they're already going for a bit of flank play style. Hold on, I do not have my drawing tool. Okay. So as you can see here, they are back here in this map, and their entire team is up here on this hillside. And what this means is that they are currently behind the enemy lines, which, as this poor soul of life is about to discover, I fear, this makes it really easy for them to sneak up on them and, yeah, run over and absolutely just beat the heck out of them. And yes, I was correct. I was correct. their team is running Atmos, and Atmos can not only gives you like healing from anywhere on the screen, but it's good for assisting in kills in case someone runs away from the shotgun. But it also helps chunk down targets for when shotgun runs out of ammo. So far, this has been fantastic playing. It's literally just running at people, jumping at the end to get a bit of momentum. And I'm guessing that that's what Hop was for, is to carry the momentum from the sprint jump, and then you just shotgun them. And wow, no, okay, this is going to be a very fun review. Okay. So far, taking high ground, sitting behind the enemy. Yeah, Atmos is picking off a player there. And yeah, they're going for a sneaky kill here. I will admit, this is pretty good. And you could argue that they should have gone and chased down those two people over to what is the right now. Earlier, I don't know, because this is the objective, which means that they would have been losing, like they would have been giving up a bit of control to do that. This so far pretty good. They're going for the support. Thing is, they keep going for the support, which means that the enemy team might plan for it. We shall see how that goes in the future. Yeah. Oh, they are hurt. Oh no, but as you can see there, the Atmos is kicking in. They've got mending, which means that they're healing up as the Atmos deals damage. I will admit here, despite their fantastic performance and everything, I do think, actually, I'm gonna bring this up. I do think them focusing the support let the enemies get a bit of distance here. So as you can see here, they're running for the thing. They're running after support and everything, and the support has Icarus, which is high mobility dash that homes onto allies. It works like Guardian Angel from Overwatch. If you know what that is, fantastic. If you don't know what it is, Google it. I'm not here to explain stuff like that. Mainly because otherwise I would be here for 2.5 hours and nobody wants to see that. So as you can see here, they keep chasing down the support and everything. But as you can see here, they are getting solid damage and everything. But the problem is, in all of this time, the enemy, which is running Staff of Life, is not only able to heal the other enemy down here, because Staff of Life can just quickly latch onto an ally because it's homing. You don't need to aim, which means you can just focus on pure movement. As you can see here, that actually has repercussions, because that means that that's another enemy that their team has to fight on point. And even if that enemy might not have survived, it actually bought this team, the red team here, enough time to move up. And as you can see here, they're chasing them down and everything. But because Soul is so slippery and everything, it gives their flanker, actually this laser sight here, time to take out or pick off at least one member of, I'm going to call them the blue team here. And it also gave time for the tank to just take over the point. Which actually, I wonder what the other, it's an ET death. Okay. Ooh, that's rough. Okay, so they've taken it back, but yeah. A bit of just a thing to point out there is that this is actually pretty good. You're pressuring the tank, you're getting damage in on them, you're draining their shield, and you're also getting massive damage on them. Unfortunately, it's Stormville, which makes it kind of difficult to hit them, or not. Alright. Okay, let's see. Are you going to chase down the support again? Okay, no, so I'm guessing, I suspect that their team kind of yelled at them to stay more on point, which is what they are doing now, which, reasonable. Oh, the shotgun is such a menace. Honestly, this is a mostly stellar performance so far from what I've seen. Ooh. They are getting a lot of mileage out of this sprint hop combo. Also, this tech that they do for, I think it's they do punch, bash, punch, or shot, bash, shot, and it stuns the target slightly and deals damage to them. I think they might also weave in kicks between shots, which makes sense because that's downtime you're not doing anything with otherwise. Okay, I suspect Red is going to pull out a offensive remix here, because otherwise they're never going to get this point, although I don't know if they do, actually. Stormvale's having some success on point. Oh, okay, hold on. Ooh, they are hurt. Okay. Going for the shotgun again. Oh, someone popped a hyper laser and... Okay, yeah. I think they popped hyper laser, which means that you kind of run out of options here. Now, this actually is something I wanted to point out, and this is what I was talking about earlier. Because your loadout is so focused on movement, you can get around the map easy, you can chase down supports and everything. We saw that earlier come to great success. However, because you have to sacrifice one of your slots for healing, that means that suddenly when you're caught in a scenario like this, like, you're kind of screwed here, your entire team is dead. But still, in a scenario like this, when you're dealing with this codex and everything, you can see there that instead of going after the codex, it might have been because the blue team called out to go for the tank here. It might have been because they want low health and want to go after a distracted target and everything. But instead of just chasing down the codex and relying on whatever healing ability they would have had, they had to go and swap targets, and that gives time to codex to escape, which you never want, because the more time a codex gets, the more phoenixes they can summon, and overall that racks up into damage on your team, healing on their team, and in this case debuffs like cold, which I think actually might have prevented you from running away fully. So yeah, this is a very team dependent, so they are one of the remix people, and yeah, they popped Stravant at the end to make sure they can't run on the overtime timer. Overall, fantastic showing from this first round. The main point is mostly just being careful of targets in regards to the support thing of beforehand. Or I suppose it's mostly being careful of this loadout, because this is a very strong loadout, but it really needs the team to work well. And when the team isn't there to back you up and to, well, finish off targets, chase down enemies and stuff like that, it kind of falls apart a bit, and in like 1v1 scenarios it starts struggling a bit, as we saw beforehand. Now this is just halftime, and okay. So now they are going to be on offense, and they are spawning in by the tower and everything, which makes sense. They are taking a bit of a frontline role here. I suspect this is just momentary because they have sprint and they can get up fast. Because, yeah, they do not have a brawl build at all. Nice wall hop. Wait. Ooh, oh, your team is taking some hits. You are taking some hits. Oh, yes. Okay. This is, yet again, what I was talking about, is that you don't really have any healing in your loadout, which means you just have to rely on residual healing from your teammates, which means that instead of being, like, more than half health here and everything, you get minigun and then paintball guns, which you got paintball gunned. It kind of sucks, but yeah. I do wonder why you're playing frontline here, because your build is absolutely, yet again, you don't have support, you don't have a defensive tool. This is a pure flank build. It's like purely designed for flank. And the thing is, you still have a chance to flank here, actually, if we're going to rewind a bit. Right here, actually, hold on, no. Right here, okay, so, you're fighting a tank, fantastic, massive damage to shield and everything. But the thing is, with the amount of mobility you have, you could very easily either flank to the right and climb up and then just start assaulting the paintball gun from the back, going after their supports and everything. You could wrap around the hill. It's going to take some time, but you can wrap around and wait for your teammate's signal, and then on their signal, you can run and distract their backline. While the backline is distracted, your team... so actually, hold on, I'm going to... try and just draw this, like what an ambush would look like. So you flank all the way around the hill and everything, and you pop up here, and then you just wait. I cannot draw with this, I'm sorry. And this, you're just waiting until it's like, okay, I'm not going to draw numbers. Let's just say you're waiting like 5 seconds and everything, and your teammates, and then your team, which I'm going to indicate in blue here, start pushing up, blue I said, I'm going to push up, and everything, slowly, and then just try and take control. And the thing is that because you are over here attacking from the backline, firing shots, distracting enemies, dealing a lot of damage, a lot of burst damage and everything, and your team is firing from here, pressuring them, and also, more importantly, moving the payload forward, which the enemy team does not want, especially since they got such low progress. And I think if you make it just past where they were, you automatically win the round. I'm not sure about that. I will have to double check and everything. What you have here is that the enemies, which we'll represent by pink, instead of being this like strong impenetrable wall and everything, there start being cracks that show up and everything, because suddenly a part of the wall has to move outwards and deal with you in the back line, and a part of the wall has to move upwards and deal with your teammates and the front line and everything. And then eventually their team just kind of dies, because that's how it happens. If you have a 4v2 against the front line, the tank's going to go down, the front line support's going to go down, or whatever the DPS is. If you're flanking and you get a couple of good shots, apologies, if you get a couple of good shots off, or you can coordinate with your DPS, you can take down the support, you can take down their sniper, and suddenly they fall apart. Which, basically, all of that boils down to, this is not a frontline build. Please don't try and frontline, because you're just kind of getting your team killed here. Because you're moving in when you can't really make it work. And then, yeah, you go down, and I suspect the rest of your team will die shortly. Or not die, but at least be inconvenienced. Okay, no, they are actually holding on, but still. Yeah. You are getting serious damage against that minigun. But, ooh, you're caught out now. And you're also out of stamina. Okay, no, your team has done a fantastic cleanup job, though. You are more than okay. They pop face circle to stall time and not die. And then blue team here wins because they got it past the percentage that the other team did. Okay, overall, what is this game? That's like a full 5-minute match. Okay, anyways, after the second game, from what I've seen so far, yet again, stellar performance. This one was a bit more shaky, probably because you tried to frontline at the start and your build really isn't designed for it. On that second half, though, when you came back in and everything, you were doing really good, but that's part of shotgun being really, really strong. Overall, so far, this is stellar performance. You can either tweak your build if you want to be like a more generalist shotgun, or try and play more to your build strengths if you want to keep it how it is. This might be what's happening might be because of communication issues with their team. I'm not sure. I am not a mind reader. But yeah, overall, this is some stellar shotgun gameplay. I also feel bad for the enemy team because what the, like, and this is kind of where your build falls apart. Now, obviously, this is kind of a bad scenario. This is kind of what I was talking about. You drop in, actually, so aside from this being a really unfortunate scenario, we have about 8 people. Okay, it's like 4 of them shooting you at once, but this is also what I was talking about earlier, which is you have a tendency to chase the support, even though it might not be the best idea to, because we could have easily done is, if we rewind a couple of seconds here, so you're going to spawn in on this side here, and the support and everything, and instead of chasing the support, what you could have done is you could have gone with your team, but you could have also, let's see if I can find a moment to draw it. It would help if I had these maps pulled up, or like a top-down view. I should get those someday. Anyways, the point is, what you could have done actually is okay, so for those of you who don't know, on this map, it's shipping docks, tight corners, long hallways, everything. But this room right here, there's a little door here that leads out to this little passageway to leads to this little like grate that you have to whatchamacallit, you have to crouch under and everything. And the thing is that what you could have done is that you can more than easily enough get there fast enough with your sprint, hop, and because you spawn closer to it and your team is there first, so they're going to prevent the enemy from closing distance, what you can do is you can flank through there, and you're either going to intercept their flanker, which shotgun dealing 100 damage on shot. If you get the first shot off in a fight, you're pretty much guaranteed to win it. And if they don't see you and they just walk by and everything, you get what is pretty much an entirely free kill, because it's kind of hard to see here, but hold on. As you can see here, if they suddenly, like, if Aria suddenly appears from here, and this support, let's say, is looking this way and over there and everything, and they start shooting them and everything, the support has very limited options. They can, go backwards directly into Aria's shotgun. They can go forward into Aria's team. They can go to the right and fall down into the death pit here, or they can wall hop, which Aria can follow by wall hopping them and chasing them. So overall, that would basically guarantee a kill. Even if you don't get the kill, you're definitely stalling a lot of time. And the great thing is that the problem with Staff of Life is that it is a very hands-on healing. If you're not healing, you're not doing anything. Unlike Bloxy, for example. Bloxy, you throw the can on them, you get a bit of healing. You also overhealth. And overhealth, as long as they don't take damage, it's just sitting there. You can be on the other side of the map, and you threw one can, 15 seconds ago and everything. It's still getting value. You're still helping your team. Less so than if you were there, but you're still helping your team. Staff of Life, if you're not actively healing someone, and you don't have an ability that lets you, like, heal from a distance, or like a cross-map healing screen, for example, and everything, they're not doing anything, which means that if you can waste the Staff of Life's time, you are getting immense value for your team, because suddenly they are without a support. And if they are if the red team here is funneled into this tight little corridor here with very limited escape options, it's a tight funnel and everything, and then you're here, and even if the support gets away, you can turn around and then proceed to chase down. If you can chase down their team here, you get so much value, and you basically just get a free win on the first team fight, which buys you, well, a first free 20 points. For those of you who might not know, the way that the timer works is it's King of the Hill, so you stand the point, you get points over time and everything, but there's a 20-point cap. If I'm at 40 points, if my team is at 40 points, for example, the other team can't get more than 60 points, because otherwise you could have one team with like 150 points and another team with like 3, and it's not necessarily fair. Now, if you do die, as you can see by this little red text here, you do lose points, but anyways, if you had taken out the team here, you would have gotten a free 20 points, and you would have gotten a strong position. Now, you do spawn in here, and you do go for a nice wall hop, gets you a bit of distance. Now, this is a correct scenario to go for the support and everything. They're not expecting you at all. They're focused with all your teammates and everything. You swoop in. They are isolated here. They are alone, and then your ET Death gets a fantastic kill. And surprise, surprise, once their support dies, because from what I've seen, they only have one support, the rest of the team crumbles afterwards. Now, I'm not saying that you going for the support was bad. I'm just saying the moment in which you went for the support was bad. Or, it wasn't the right moment to go for the support. They are going for a bit of... Oh, because the zone is still here and everything. Okay, so they're going for a split push here. You've got a couple of members there, a couple of members here and everything. Super Ball just crumbles. You're getting a lot of healing. The Staff of Life, I think, got stuck trying to climb because these crates have weird collision. Rest in peace, Staff of Life player. It is, I can't. The thing isn't high enough definition for me to read it. Alright. You're doing solid. You haven't run into many, like, issues with your loadout because most of the time, you get healing from kills or from your allies. And your team just has such strong control of the point. No, hold on. This is literally what I was talking about before. You picked off their support with a well-timed ambush, and not only did you, well, take out their entire team and everything and get points and everything, you prevented them from coming back because you had pressure on the point. It's, well, they went LFP, so one of their DPS swaps to additional healing, I think. Okay. Well, Red is not having a very good time here. Obviously, Aria is doing fantastic, but, oh. Yeah, this is a bit of a rough time for them. Oh no, the Black Hand. Okay, you're lucky that your team pops Divine Veil. Was that the right moment, and will your team be punished for popping Divine Veil too early? Yes. Yes, they will. Now, admittedly, their DPS player went Generals 45, which kind of fricks over your team, but yet again, this right here, actually, hold on, no, this is the same issue of you chasing down the support. You tried to go for the support kill, and because your loadout doesn't have something like sidearm, javelin, or something that you could throw out at them to get the quick kill, you have to chase them down to get the kill. What happens? You get caught out, you take a ton of damage. Your loadout doesn't have any mobility, and you're out of thing here, which means you have to do a short wall hop instead. And problem is, and because you don't have any healing, you have to rely on your teammates to get healing. Problem is, that gives the enemy time to black hand and everything, which means you're low health. And you get here, so they pop a Divine Veil. They pop a Divine Veil. Problem is, they popped it too early, which means that when red actually gets on the point, you only have like 1/5, 1/10 of the Divine Veil's effects and everything. And that means they can just slowly pick you off one by one, which is exactly what happens here. No, okay, no, your team actually does manage to hold a point pretty well. You've got a very strong team here, but yeah, that's some of the dangers of having a very like focused loadout is the word for it. Yeah, sprint with hop is a fascinating combo, especially with the with Drifter. Ooh, you got nabbed. So they've popped Crimson Katana here. You're going to wait it out, it presumes. Oh, I think you're going to go for a reverse Crimson Katana. So they pop their Crimson Katana, they're going to cut down your team and everything, and then you're going to swoop in afterwards and Crimson Katana them in the back, if needed. Oh no, your team popped Hyper Laser. Okay, that's yeah, no, that's free points. Yeah. Also, you can see the 20 points rule in effect here. They have 51 points. They have 71 points. But as you can see, they're not getting any more points for standing on the zone because they are already 20 higher than their team than the enemies. And yet again, this is the going for the support and a non-opportune moment. Or actually, hold on. This isn't even going for the support. You're just running at the support. You didn't even flank them here. You just ran at them in a straight line in one of two possible choke points and everything. Hold on. I think you must have thought that there were a lot less people there than you initially guessed. Yeah, and so they pop hyper laser and everything, and they just swoop in and take back the zone. Your team is being picked off. Please tell me you don't pop Crimson Katana here, because there's a very important piece of text in the thing. And yeah, yet again, your loadout's reliance on your team here is bites you in the butt because you have to rely on the health pack, which means that you get picked off by the LFP since you don't have any passive healing or escape tools or like a trowel or something to block incoming damage. Oh, this would be such a good Crimson moment. Yes! Yes! Fantastic! Mostly. Well, you definitely did force them off the point, and you are getting a lot of damage. I think they might have popped Face Circle, which is why they were able to tank so much damage here. And yeah. Very solid remix. You waited for the right moment, you got in position, you used the boomerang and then the blade effect to force them off the point, and that racks you up a ton of well, actual points, but also it buys you time, which is very important because there's only a minute left. You get Blackhand to counter shotgun is pretty interesting. Although they might actually just be using Blackhand to counter your tank. And then you just keep getting hit because you're in their face. Super Bowl is about to have a very bad day, as is the tank. Boy, shotgun is so incredibly oppressive. It's insane to see a really skilled shotgun player, because it's just like if you are just tiny bit out of position, you just take 80 damage to the face every point. I think it's 1-5 seconds. I don't know the firing speed for a shotgun. It's fast. Yeah, and then you just die. Now this is actually an adequate situation to go for the support if you had been able to kill them. But yeah, you have to escape now, and as you can see, the points start racking up, and red has established a very good control here. Now you do manage to get a fantastic. Oh no, your team pops hyper laser. Okay, you did good, but also hyper laser is hyper laser. Okay, overall, very solid gameplay from you. Very interesting to see a more like objective or like a very interesting to see Loadout and Koth compared to Payload because there's moving objectives, which means you have to be a lot more mobile. Mostly so far from what I'm noting is that my main points earlier are about having a uneven loadout and hard focusing the supports when it's so far I've noticed three things. One, you have a tendency to hard focus supports, and that leads to your death more often than not. Two, your loadout, whilst being very good for flanking and everything, leaves you very vulnerable, especially if you don't have teammates to back you up. Now, normally you do, but in the moments that you don't, you die very easily, and it means that your team loses a very big source of... Not only do they lose a lot of DPS, but they also lose their main flank weapon, which if the other team... If you ever fight a team that's running a very, like, area control heavy... for example, see my... I think it's... previous or one... I think it's the previous comp... analysis vid or the one before that, where it was a very area control heavy team where they basically just commanded one area. It was one of the teams there and everything. If you die, your team suddenly struggled immensely to break through and everything because they don't have a flanker to break apart that very strong presence. So yeah, so unbalanced, or like uneven loadout, tendency to go for supports when you really shouldn't. You also seem to try to frontline with a, this is more occasional, but you seem to frontline with a, yet again, a flanker loadout, which does not end well, and I do not recommend that you do it. So, yeah. Okay, so we have another Koth game. Whoops, that's, no, stop that. Okay, so we have the last game here. It is Glass Houses. It is Koth again. Shotgun is absolutely stellar here, mainly because all of the terrain, easy, like, there's a ton of terrain, a ton of wall hops, places, and high ground that you can ambush people from, jump pads and everything that you can do movement tech with. You might suffer against the enemy's General's 45 player, but it depends on how they play and if they actually like take advantage of high ground. This is decent. Or whatever their wow, red team is just not having a good day today. You're just kind of cutting through them. Oh no, hold on, they are putting up a bit of a fight this match. Okay, so they're going for like a burst TPS comp. They have a Slipknot and they have a General's 45 on their team. You take down the Generals, you go for the tank. Okay. Solid decision, you get your teammates to back you up. You take out one of their players. You're going for the Banhammer now. Take out the Banhammer. And then Gen 45 player is very much out of position. If anybody knows who the Gen 45 player is, because I don't think I've seen them on the server, let them know that I'm willing to review their gameplay and give them some positioning tips, because this is unfortunate to watch. Okay, zone's moving in 10 seconds. I think right now red is just trying to... Oh, you got slip-knotted. Unfortunate. Really, that's mainly it. Your team is putting up a heck of a fight, though. Oh, they popped Hyper Laser. And they got you. Oh, wow, that's your entire team dead. Okay. And the red team is racking up the points while your team is gone. Makes sense. Okay. Hot tip. This is going to be shocking. I'm being sarcastic here, obviously, if you can't tell. But hot tip. If you're playing flankers, you usually don't want to run and find yourself in tight, isolated corridors. Much less tight, isolated corridors that are the main window through which the entire enemy team, or pretty much the entire enemy team, is shooting. And was shooting before, and they are now shooting you. Even more so when you don't have any healing abilities. This is kind of what I was talking about your less than stellar positioning. You could have. No, I'm sorry, I'm having a bit of a breakdown about this. Because the thing is, you could have easily just gone to the left here. You could have just run in, shot this guy, and then just run past the support there and everything, and then just run back around, like climbed up or taken the jump pad up and just done like strafing runs against their general's player and everything. But no, you just run outwards. It's, oh jeez. Yeah, nice wall hop. Okay, you're interesting. So you seem to be a bit of a shot caller. For those of you who don't know what a shot caller is, a shot caller is basically like a stopwatch as a player, which basically means that, for example, um, if you have a shot caller on a football, like European football team, so soccer, basically what they do is that if they go for like, if they get the ball past them, everything, they start running. That's a signal for everybody else that like they're going to do formation 3, which is like a more pass heavy thing and stuff like that. Or if if they get the ball and they're very up ahead, but they start running backwards back towards the goal, they're notifying their team they're going for like a formation 5, which is they're gonna like try and split up the enemy team so that they can go for a long kick on the goal and everything. And in this case, what's happening is that the blue team here is basically waiting on Aria's gameplay slash the moves they make to go in. For example, you can see this right here. Now, I will admit there's also a black hole bomb going on right now, which could have incentivized this. But as you can see here, they go in, move in and everything. And as Aria's chunking down their team and everything, you can see that the rest of the blue members have followed up and are now chasing everybody else down. But as you can see, if we rewind a bit more, you can see they were all holding back and they were waiting there. Now, I will admit this, I suspect this is actually more so because of the black hole bomb than it is because of the shotgun, but I have noticed this in the past, which is interesting. Oh no, you have been, they popped Crimson Katana. You also have Crimson Katana, which means that you can go for a reversal ult and pull back the point. Also, 63% accuracy with shotgun is, wow, nice. Headshot accuracy is a bit low, but then again, they are moving very fast, and it's kind of hard to aim when you move fast. Okay. You got slip knotted in the middle of your Crimson Katana. Okay, that is unfortunate, honestly. Yet again, though, I think that the unfortunate thing here is because of what you're doing. You are playing on the point, which is nice and all everything, but you have an ET death and a support on the point, which could... You have 2 supports on the point, which could have easily held it by themselves. What you could have very easily done here is, yet again, you take advantage of your loadout, you move fast and everything, and you have hop here, which means that it's much easier to clear these buildings than it is for other people, because instead of having to climb the whole thing, you can just skip it and climb halfway. And what that means is that you can very easily just go across the... hold on, I'm going to fast forward a bit so we can see a bit more. Is that instead of just running through here and waiting for them to walk through this doorway, you could go up top and then drop down on them. Now, you have to be careful that they don't spawn on your face, or you could do the same thing and run over to the left and then drop down from there and everything. But what this means is that suddenly, instead of being out front and in the face where your weapon doesn't work, or like where your weapon is less effective, your loadout is less effective, and more specifically, your remix is less effective, you're maximizing that and everything. If you pop a Crimson Katana from behind enemy lines, it's not as strong as like a golden knife might be, but still, they take like 90, 100 damage from the, whatchamacallit, from the boomerang that sends out, they're locked out and everything. That gives your team a free chance to follow up and basically get massive damage on the rest of your team, or for your team to get a massive damage on them. Yeah, you do back out here. I mean, you get some damage, which is nice. I suppose you did distract them a bit. But yeah. No, you got shot down hard. And yeah, that's the loadout kind of screwing you over there. Okay. This isn't bad, but yet again, I find myself asking why you're frontlining here, and it's like technically this is the back of the point, but this is still frontlining because this is where the enemies were already looking. You want to approach them from an angle that they weren't already looking at. Also, what version of the map is this? Because normally there's a giant hole in the wall here. This is from like a couple of days ago. This, I might be thinking of a different map. I think it's blue sides of the map that has the hole in the cave, and then red's doesn't. I could be hallucinating though. Don't quote me on this. I do not know everything. Yeah, as you can see, 2 damage. Wow, that was a nice jump. Wall hop, okay. Now, I will admit, this is actually kind of where your loadout shines. Your incredibly high mobility lets you just jump between targets really quickly and get massive damage on them, which, as you can see here, has split them up and just gotten you a lot of kills, actually. It's also stalled so much time for them because they had to deal with, you behind them, your teammates in front of them, and everything. Also, I think you're just gonna kind of get gunned here. If you had picked up the health pack that spawned like 0.3 seconds after you were there, you might have actually loved that. That would have been cool. You might lose. Well, no, I don't know. Obviously, since this doesn't go on any longer, I think either win by technicality or manage to take back the point somehow. I also think that's why they're not popping their remix. They are stalling the point. Or their team has just told them to save their remix. Ooh. Oh no, it's because the zone was changing. So I suspect we will probably see a Crimson Katana very shortly, in about 10 seconds. And that is, yeah, 10 seconds. Also, if you're gonna pop Crimson Katana, maybe don't be a bit so flashy about it, because if you stand behind the wall, they're probably gonna suspect that you have Crimson. But yeah, that's I'm just nitpicking at that point. Let's see. Hold on. Whoops. Okay, nice, fantastic. You pick off the general's player. Your team pops hyper laser. Zone is flipped, and suddenly you take it home. Okay. Well then, overall, okay, I'm going to wrap up my points here because, well, the video is over. And I'm just going to kind of illustrate them. So today is June 2nd, Aria vid notes. Okay, so to recap, also I'm going to put a timestamp here if people are interested. So, quick recap. From what I've seen, you are a very strong melee. You are a very strong DPS player. You have very good shotgun aim, fantastic movement skills. You're very good at chunking down enemy teams and just shredding through them. Overall, very well done. You know how to flank well. You know how to shut down supports and enemies. The main points I have noticed, though, or places that you can improve. First thing, be careful when making loadouts, as the things that you sacrifice, as the aspects you sacrifice, will cause problems. So this specifically is problems as you fight. So this is specifically if in regards to your loadout, it's very movement heavy. All of it is movement based, which is fantastic. It lets you chase down enemies and everything. But the problem is that there are a lot of, I suppose a decent amount of moments where you just got caught out without resources. So you were out of sprint meter. There wasn't a wall to wall hop on, or hop is hop. It can't save you from 3 enemies in your face. Let's be realistic. Pointers and everything, and because you didn't have a defensive ability, you didn't have a healing ability or stuff like that, you just either had to leave the fight and sacrifice and give it up to the enemy. You got your team in trouble, or you just ended up dying because you didn't have anything to help you. If you are going to run a specialized loadout, playstyle should maximize its effects. This is basically what you have is a very movement heavy loadout, which means that you want to be flanking all of the time. If you see someone in front of you, basically your enemies should not see you first. You should be almost always getting the first shots on them and everything. Problem is, there were a lot of moments where you just either charged into enemies, like as we saw like earlier here in this last game, or we're just trying to play frontline shotgun, and your build isn't designed for frontline shotgun. You don't have yet again, you have a very specialized loadout. Your loadout is specialized for movement, which means that the sacrifices you make in regards to healing, defensive abilities, escape options, because sprint is really a chase option most of the time, and everything got you in trouble and usually got you killed. And the third thing is be careful, or be a bit more selective with your timing slash target priority. Ports aren't always the person to chase. Also, I've just realized I can do this, and I don't have to indent the line, whatever. This is mostly regarding the fact that you had a tendency to chase down supports, which is good. Shotguns and flanker weapons should do that and everything, but there were a lot of moments, especially in this first game here, where you were chasing down a Staff of Life Icarus, and because you were chasing it down and you weren't putting pressure on the tank, you weren't putting pressure on the DPS and everything, your team kind of lost they lost your pressure since it was focused on one person instead of the whole team, and because of that lack of pressure, the other team was able to push the cart and get a bit of an advantage. It didn't pan out, but there are definitely matches where it can pan out, and it can be enough leverage for the enemy team to suddenly flip the fight, and your team is now having to is put on the defensive in how they play, and you're suddenly on a losing streak of fights and such like that. Yeah, also in the shipping docks fight, you basically just face checked or just chased a Staff of Life and ended up landing directly in the face of about 8 enemies. And actually, ironically enough, this also rewinds back to the previous point, which is where you were you were chasing them, you weren't flanking them. If you want to build a chase loadout, you should probably swap out sprint for not Icarus, but sprint for dash, and then hop for something like javelin, black hand, some kind of combat ability to give you sidearm, maybe to give you a bit more damage at range, to finish off low health targets, to start a fight from range, etc., etc. Yeah, honestly, those are my main points. Fantastic gameplay. If you tweak these couple of things, or you just really have them in mind and you practice when you have these things in mind and you just pay attention to them, and you're like, oh wait, hold them on, and you're just playing and you're fighting and everything, you're like, wait a minute, this is the enemy team, they're all looking at me, I'm trying to shoot them, I'm not flanking, but I have a flanking loadout, I should fix that, and you go and fix it and everything. Even if you end up doing it again, if you're able to recognize that and then rectify that whilst you're playing and everything, over time you'll be able to start you'll start to really maximize your loadouts, and you're going to become even more of a threat, which is terrifying because I'm also a scrims player, which is a very good chance I'm going to have to fight Aria, which is terrifying news because I've just given them their secrets to success. So I am causing my own downfall, but I like helping people improve, so it's worth it. Anyways, thank you all for watching this fantastic gameplay footage. Thank you, Aria, for letting me review your stuff. To anybody else who plays Project Remix, especially if you're a scrims player, let me know down in the comments below if you want to be reviewed. It's completely free, but if you like what I do and you want to support me in my videos, you can tip me via Ko-Fi below. And if you play other games that aren't Project Remix, like Delta Force and Splitgate and stuff like that, you can also book a session with me via Metafy, And yeah, if I'm available, I'll do one-on-one course or one-on-one session with you and everything. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Ciao.